Hello, welcome to Pike Creek Farm. My name is Renee and I'm doing something with using up some of the fresh vegetables I have. I am making ratatouille, and I'm probably saying it wrong, but that is going to be part of Boots and Bounty Homestead. They're keeping it fresh collab, and Kayce always has great ideas for recipes using up items from your garden. And this is one of my favorite things to do with eggplant and zucchini and peppers and onions and whatever, summer squash. I'm gonna put all this stuff into a pot. Sometimes I will slice it and make it all pretty like they did in the cartoon. But more often than not, I just cook it up like a stew, like a rustic vegetable stew. And I love it left over and to eat during the week for my lunches and just add some protein to it. So that's what I'm making today, is ratatouille, a stew. Anyway, come along with me while I use up some of these vegetables while they're still in their prime. And my vegetables, we didn't get a garden in this year, so I'm either going to my church garden, or these were actually part of my neighbor who's like a mile away. He has a produce stand and he has gardens that he harvests and is selling, and he has a weekly box for $15. And I'll post a picture of it over here, what I got this week that had this beautiful eggplant in it. And that's what I'm using, is the vegetables from that vegetable box. So come along and let's make ratatouille at Pike Creek Farm.
I'm going to start off by putting a stock pot on the burner on medium and add some olive oil to heat it up. And then I'm going to chop up a couple of onions. I have part of a red onion and a white sweet onion. And I'm going to do just a rough chop. I don't want it too fine. Just a rough chop, and add it in there to start it softening up and turning translucent. I don't have any fresh garlic, or I would add that. I am going to add some powdered garlic. Here I have a half of a zucchini. I'm cutting off part right in like how the skin looked. And I'm going to cut it in half and then slice it. And the slices you don't want too thin because it will just disappear into the stew. So do about 1/4 to 1/2 inch slice. And add them to the pot. We're just going to keep adding everything to that pot. This is a one-pot meal. Next, I have a couple of small summer squash, and I'm going to slice them up, and once again, not too thin. If these had been bigger around, I would have cut them in half. I did wash all these vegetables before I started. So here's the second summer squash. If you don't have one of the ingredients, that's fine, or if you have something else you want to add. Next was that beautiful eggplant. I cut it in half and started slicing it in thicker slices, and I did decide that those were too big, and I cut those in half, so it's quarter chunks that will be going into the pot. I have a green pepper. If I'd had a red pepper, I would have loved to have added that, but I didn't. So I will add this green pepper and do some chunks, chop it up, but not dice. And here is everything in the pot now. And now I'm going to add some seasoning to it. I'm adding some infused olive oil. This is Milanese, so it has lemon and some different herbs. And I'm putting about 1.5 teaspoons on top. I also added some mushrooms I had in the refrigerator, and there's one left in that little blue container that I'm going to toss in there too. Right now I'm adding thyme leaves, about 1 teaspoon of thyme. And next I went to get the tarragon and 1/2 teaspoon of tarragon. Tarragon has a slight licorice flavor. Some people don't like it. You can use different herbs. You can use Italian seasoning. You can use basil. You can use oregano. Do what you like. Rosemary. Here's that last mushroom. I'm going to chop it into quarters and put that in there. Then we had 2 cobs of corn left over from dinner last night, and it was so good and so sweet. So I'm going to cut that off and add that to the pot. I don't think that's traditionally in ratatouille, but I don't want to see it go to waste, and it tastes really good. And it gives a crunch to the ratatouille, because even when the other vegetables cook down, the corn will still have a snap to it. So I am just cutting the corn off, and we'll add that to the pot. Give it a stir. Then after I did the corn, I had a tomato. Tomatoes are a real important ingredient to ratatouille. You can use canned, you can use home canned, you can use fresh. I just took the core out of this, and I'm cutting it into wedges and then cutting those in half so I have chunks to go in there. The tomato helps make the vegetable broth that the stew is in. All the vegetables, the juices come out and mingle together, plus with the seasonings, and just makes it really a fragrant meal, and also just very tasty with a lot of flavor. So that tomato will go in. And I just added the one, I didn't want it to be overly tomatoey. And now I'm just giving everything a stir, and I'll let it cook down. Here it is, all the nice bright colors, which will decrease. You know, the colors aren't as vivid once it cooks down, as you can see here. And the last step is to add the juice of one lemon.
This one-handed is not
It just
easy.
brightens everything, gives it a freshness, and the acidity really helps this dish. So squeeze one lemon.
I'm going to stir it up
over
and taste it.
the
I have another
ratatouille, give
half
it a
if I think
stir.
it needs more, if it needs some
And
salt or pepper, but it's
Once
just
it's
the
cooked,
seasoning now.
the flavors are all mingled, and it's
it is
cooked down
ready.
some, it is ready to serve. So I will get a bowl out and show you what this looks like in the bowl. And this will serve me for lunch for several days.
I'm going to add a sprinkle of tarragon on the top of mine, and some Parmesan cheese, which look at, really good. And you can add what you like and leave out what you don't like. So it's very adaptable. And you can serve it with some meat or not, you know, to make it just a vegetarian meal. Leave the cheese off and it's a vegan meal. If you like this video and want to see more on canning and cooking and vintage recipes, push the like button and subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you here. And thank you so much for stopping by today at Pike Creek Farm. My name is Renee, and we'll see you again soon, I hope.